Welcome back to our channel, the place where hidden chapters, royal secrets, and the stories the palace won't publish finally come to light. Today we bring you a breaking news: Sussexes exposed, fraud lies, and more jaw-dropping scandals. A sequence of seemingly unrelated events in late 2023 garnered significant public scrutiny over the conduct and communications of prominent figures, major corporations, and government agencies in the United Kingdom. Collectively, these incidents encompassing the social activism of two notable public figures at a Hollywood birthday celebration, inquiries regarding seasonal product labeling in a leading supermarket chain, and the communication strategy of a national school breakfast program, highlight persistent conflicts surrounding privacy media, oversight, corporate accountability, and the portrayal of social policy. This narrative analyzes each occurrence, sequentially offers contextual elucidation when beneficial, and delineates the conflicting viewpoints that arose in public discourse. This also examines the structural processes that render such episodes impactful in modern public life: the interplay of digital amplification, legal ambiguity management, prudence, and cultural polarization. The inaugural episode focuses on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and their attendance at a prominent 70th birthday celebration for Kris Jenner. The event occurred at the Beverly Hills residence of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his fiancée Lauren Sanchez, characterized as an exclusive assembly, featuring a guest list that reportedly included Beyoncé, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Justin Bieber, Vin Diesel, Adele, and members of the Kardashian-Jenner family. Media scrutiny heightened due to allegations that the Duke and Duchess may have attended without a formal invitation, a claim sometimes encapsulated in press accounts as the couple having crashed the event. The unverified accusation contributed to an ongoing storyline regarding the couple's social status and connections since their move to California following their withdrawal from top royal responsibilities. A significant aspect of the dispute and the factor that generated the greatest public discourse pertained to the management of images captured during the incident. Kris Jenner utilized her Instagram account with over 51 million followers to share several image galleries subsequent to the gathering. Observers remarked that images of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were present in the first posts but were then deleted. The removal incited numerous media reports and elicited contradictory explanations from sources identified as affiliated with the various parties involved. The disparate accounts coalesced into a minimum of 3 distinct narratives, prompting criticism and leading some observers to label the incident as a public relations debacle, indicative of the fragile nature of celebrity communications in an age of immediate responses and viral secondary commentary. One of the initial reports, referenced in multiple sources, asserted that the Duchess of Sussex was personally displeased with the images and asked their removal. A source indicated that Meghan was furious with the photographs and requested their deleted. This version depicts the erasure as a direct result of the Duchess's dissatisfaction with her representation, a deliberate choice aligned with a public endeavor to manage image and narrative. However, it raises the practical issue of whether a visitor can obligate a host to delete photographs from the host's social media feed, and if such a request would be honored out of respect, contractual obligation, or private negotiation between prominent individuals. A second narrative, distinctly different in nature, was ascribed to people affiliated with the Sussexes and reported by The Royalist, a newsletter issued by the Daily Beast. The source indicates that the removal of the images was based on a prior agreement. Visitors were provided with consent papers before to the event, which included an option to authorize or refuse the usage of photographs on social media. The Sussexes reportedly chose the option, expressing their refusal to consent to social media publication, hence the following removal of photographs depicting them was characterized as adherence to their expressed desire to restrict public exposure. This elucidation corresponds with the couple's protracted, occasionally contentious history of endeavors to manage their public persona and safeguard their personal privacy, framing the subsequent deletion as an implementation of pre-established privacy preferences rather than an impulsive response. A contrasting third tale emerged from people purportedly close to the Kardashian family, as published by The Royalist. The sources categorically refuted the distribution of any consent forms or waivers to attendees. Their counter-argument directly opposed the Sussex-aligned rationale and left the justification for the removal of the photos ambiguous. Due to the origins of these tales in opposing factions with motives to portray the event positively, viewers had to assess conflicting credibility assertions within the swift flow of social media conjecture and tabloid journalism. The presence of these conflicting narratives sparked an ongoing debate regarding the veracity of the claims and whether the discrepancies indicated deliberate obfuscation or mere confusion following a rapidly evolving social media incident. The debate itself became integral to the narrative examination of sources, motives, and probable actions, populated commentary sections and broadcast discussions, generating insights into the mechanisms of contemporary celebrity public relations and the degree to which truth can be assessed in a context where managed communications leaks and denials coexist. The issue was exacerbated for those trying to control the narrative by the ongoing dissemination of photographs beyond the host's official channels. A photograph allegedly captured at the celebration emerged on social media and purportedly depicted Prince Harry in the background of an image centered on Kris Jenner. The ongoing proliferation of such images exemplifies a fundamental characteristic of modern digital existence. Once photographs or other digital content are posted and extensively circulated, it becomes exceedingly challenging to regulate their wider distribution. This phenomenon is known as the Streisand effect, a term that denotes instances where efforts to conceal information inadvertently amplify its visibility. In actuality, efforts to regulate circulation frequently yield the contrary effect, as screenshots, reposts, blog analyses, and continuous media coverage guarantee the material's persistence in various formats and locations. This episode underscores the intricate dynamics between celebrity privacy and public relations in an age where prominent personalities are both curated brands and targets of rigorous journalistic examination. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, having intentionally distanced themselves from the formal frameworks of the British monarchy and pursued commercial and media endeavors in the United States, may find affiliation with an elite social circle to be a strategic advantage. Participation at prestigious events denotes status, access, and significance within specific commercial and humanitarian spheres. The risks associated with such visibility are evident participation in exclusive events, regardless of whether one is deemed invited or uninvited, provokes scrutiny on social status, and the alignment of public declarations with private behavior. The various conflicting narratives surrounding the Kris Jenner photographs exemplify the delicate dynamics of reputation management for contemporary public figures, wherein every public action is prone to instant interpretation and reinterpretation within a fragmented media landscape. The Jenner party dispute presents an opportunity to elucidate the legal and practical limitations that govern how news organizations and commentators manage event photographs. Numerous media outlets and digital creators exercise prudence in duplicating the photographs during discussions, not only to prevent the amplification of the visuals, but also due to valid apprehensions over copyright infringement. According to UK law, as in most other places, the initial copyright owner of a photograph is often the photographer, the person who captured the image, unless a contract stipulates otherwise. Ownership grants exclusive rights to reproduce, disseminate, and otherwise utilize the image with certain limited exceptions. Event organizers often engage photographers under agreements that transfer or assign rights to the host, facilitating regulated distribution and generating licensing prospects. It is thus conceivable that the copyright of the official party photographs was contractually transferred to Kris Jenner, or the organizers granting them authority over the exhibition and licensing of those images. Reproducing or embedding such photos without authorization may infringe upon the rights of the copyright holder. Legal systems have restricted exceptions, and in the UK, the pertinent theory is fair dealing governed by the Copyright Designs and Patents Act, 1988. Fair dealing allows the utilization of copyrighted content for designated purposes such as criticism review and news reporting. Nevertheless, this exception is limited and contingent upon specific facts. Judicial bodies will evaluate elements like the intent and nature of the use, the quantity of the work utilized, the potential for the use to unjustly harm the rightful interests of the rights holder, and the extent to which the use may compete with any prospective market for the original content. A crucial practical factor is whether the unauthorized use will significantly diminish the market value of an authorized photograph, for instance, by infringing exclusive rights or licensed distribution, in which scenario the fair dealing defense will be less robust. Conversely, succinct descriptions, diminutive thumbnail photos, accompanied by explicit attribution or low-resolution clips utilized within a critical framework, are more likely to be deemed lawful. Nonetheless, no strict, universally applicable standard exists, and results may vary based on judicial interpretation. This legal ambiguity elucidates why numerous commentators, particularly on platforms like YouTube or Instagram, exhibit notable prudence. The risk of a copyright strike, a formal notification system employed by online platforms to identify purported infringements according to site-specific policies and in certain frameworks under notice and takedown protocols, is not merely hypothetical. Strikes can result in content removal, and in some cases the suspension or termination of a channel or account. As a result, numerous creators opt to articulate the substance of contentious photographs verbally instead of reproducing them, or to utilize public domain stills or licensed images when accessible. Newsrooms frequently seek legal counsel prior to duplicating contentious material. The interplay of business risk, reputational apprehension, and potential legal liability inclines professional outlets towards a conservative approach in these instances. The Jenner Party instance underscores a secondary interconnected notion regarding the durability of digital content. Even when photographs are removed from official accounts, duplicates are frequently preserved, redistributed, and archived by numerous users and services. Third-party reposts, search engine caches, preserved screenshots, and downloads stored on external servers render total deletion virtually unattainable in numerous situations. The cliché "the internet never forgets" encapsulates the reality that digital content once shared often leaves a lasting trace that is challenging to completely eliminate. Public figures seeking to shape a specific narrative have a structural challenge. Their capacity to manage their image is inherently limited by the decentralized and repeatable characteristics of online media. The one dependable mitigant is proactive management, which includes explicit contracts, thorough vetting of hosts and photographers, and anticipatory media tactics that acknowledge the inevitability of leaks and prepare appropriately. A distinct yet thematically connected aspect of public discourse focused on concerns over digital privacy and the security of personal electronic devices following their interaction with third parties. The trigger for this discussion originated from a viewer's reaction about criticism on a pro bono legal matter, although the issues presented possess broader significance. The discussion focused on the hypothetical installation of covert monitoring software on devices like cell phones or laptop software that may be deployed without the owner's awareness when the device is under the authority of an external entity. The phrase emphasized in the discourse was rootkit. Generally, a rootkit denotes a suite of software tools engineered to get and sustain privileged access to a computer system while obscuring their existence. The designation originates from root, the standard term for the superuser account, possessing unrestricted access on Unix-like operating systems. Upon successful installation of a rootkit, an attacker possessing such access can surveil activities, intercept messages, log keystrokes, access files, or otherwise modify device behavior in ways that are challenging for typical users to discern. Rootkits are considered one of the most severe types of malware due to their stealth and the extensive access they provide. Some function at low levels inside an operating system or even within device firmware, complicating detection by conventional antivirus software. It is crucial to underscore that there are no public accusations suggesting that police forces systematically deploy malware or rootkits on devices they confiscate for evidentiary purposes. Law enforcement agencies commonly employ recognized digital forensics methods to retrieve evidence, and these operations are normally regulated by a legitimate investigatory purpose. Forensic professionals frequently employ specialized approved instruments and meticulous chain of custody procedures to maintain the integrity of evidence and prevent contamination. Nevertheless, the advanced capabilities of contemporary software tools imply that the theoretical potential for covert access exists and that technical exploitation is conceivable in principle. Historical revelations and controversies across multiple jurisdictions have demonstrated that governments and prosecutors have in certain instances employed invasive monitoring technologies, occasionally in a contentious manner and with disputed legal authorization. The overarching theme that resonated with audiences is the issue of trust and verification when a device is removed from an owner's physical control, whether due to police seizure, transfer to a repair shop for maintenance, or interaction with any third party with physical access. The owner encounters a significant information asymmetry that is difficult to rectify. This disparity has fostered greater public interest in fundamental countermeasures and enhanced digital literacy. Commonly discussed protective measures encompass robust device and full disk encryption to safeguard device contents, regular software updates to mitigate vulnerabilities, multi-factor authentication to secure accounts and services, and reputable security software capable of identifying known malware variants. It is advisable to secure devices with robust passcodes and to refrain from granting superfluous rights to applications. Virtual private networks (VPNs) are often referenced in public discourse as mechanisms that obscure a user's internet connection by directing traffic through encrypted tunnels, thereby concealing the user's IP address. However, it is crucial to acknowledge that VPNs do not inhibit malware installation via local access to a device and do not safeguard against threats posed by individuals who can physically manipulate hardware or directly install software. Advanced defensive strategies, including device integrity verification via trusted boot mechanisms, utilization of hardware security modules, and engagement of dedicated forensic services to detect tampering post-device return are implemented in specialized contexts, but remain largely inaccessible and unfamiliar to the general populace. Pragmatic attainable strategies encompass utilizing Faraday bags to obstruct wireless signals when a gadget is inactive, or configuring devices into an encrypted wiped mode prior to entrusting them to third parties for maintenance. Lawyers, journalists, and others handling sensitive information often adhere to institutional procedures, such as utilizing separate air-gapped devices for especially sensitive tasks. Although these tactics are not foolproof, they diminish the attack surface and complicate covert compromises. The function of processes and oversight is equally significant. When law enforcement agencies or employers require access to devices, transparent protocols, explicit legal authorizations, and documented chains of custody mitigate the danger of misuse and enhance public trust. Independent audits, judicial authorization, and redress mechanisms serve as institutional complements to technical defenses. While technology can mitigate certain dangers, governance frameworks dictate the legitimate and responsible use of invasive capabilities. Public education initiatives, cost-effective security tools, and explicit instructions for non-technical users can alleviate risk. Nevertheless, these measures must be complemented by stringent regulatory frameworks and supervision systems that dissuade and punish unauthorized access. Shifting from digital security to commercial branding, another incident that garnered public interest in late 2023 featured Tesco, one of the major grocery chains in the United Kingdom, facing allegations of employing excessively neutral product labeling over the holiday season. Social media critics have accused Tesco of going woke, following the circulation of photographs depicting two seasonal products labeled in non-religious terms: a traditional Christmas cake referred to as top iced fruit cake, and a small adorned tree marketed as a luxury evergreen tree. Some commentators interpreted the exclusion of the term Christmas from these labels as an effort to avoid offending a minority of customers, viewing it as a manifestation of corporate political correctness, undermining established cultural traditions. The viral debate rapidly generated counterclaims and additional context. Some individuals claimed that Tesco had employed generic labeling on specific seasonal products for several years and that no significant developments had taken place. Others countered by providing historical photographs that allegedly demonstrated Tesco's prior use of explicit phrases such as "Merry Christmas Pine Tree" on comparable items. This imagery implied that certain products had previously been designated with the term Christmas. Furthermore, customers who frequented Tesco stores during that time observed that numerous other items, including Christmas puddings, Christmas crackers, and festive wrapping paper, were distinctly and prominently labeled as such. The observation suggests that the company's strategy was not to eliminate the term Christmas universally, but to implement targeted branding decisions for specific product lines, potentially influenced by supply chain labeling, supplier brand selections, or a strategic inclination towards more neutral product descriptors in certain premium or non-category items. This micro-controversy exemplifies a persistent dynamic in modern consumer culture. Corporate packaging and marketing decisions can serve as surrogate arenas for wider cultural disputes. Major retailers function within a marketplace characterized by a clientele possessing varied cultural and religious identities, prompting marketing teams to use inclusive methods aimed at attracting the widest audience feasible. This may involve employing generic seasonal expressions such as "Happy Holidays" or utilizing neutral product descriptors aimed at highlighting attributes, price-quality design, rather than cultural or religious connotations. From a marketing standpoint, these decisions are typically realistic commercial assessments aimed at preventing the alienation of client segments, enhancing shelf attractiveness, and ensuring product names conform to supplier conventions or regulatory labeling standards. However, as illustrated by the Tesco incident, these pragmatic actions may be perceived by some as ideological statements, and the amplification on social media can swiftly transform a solitary product label into a national discourse. Historical instances, particularly the ongoing debate regarding the seasonal design of Starbucks holiday cups, illustrate how a seemingly minor corporate choice can be amplified into a broader cultural symbol, fueling narratives concerning a perceived erosion of cultural continuity or the intentions of corporate elites to dissociate from predominant traditions. The story highlights the difficult position of major corporations, which strive to balance diversity with the risk of alienating customers who view any break from tradition as a threat to cultural identity. Retailers must manage supply chain limitations, brand structure, legal obligations, such as allergen labeling and consumer perceptions, all while contending with the amplified influence of social media. The intensity of the response to such decisions also signifies underlying characteristics of contemporary consumption. For numerous consumers, grocery excursions are habitual low-risk engagements. Thus, an unforeseen alteration in labeling or shelf arrangement can become prominent as it disrupts the mundane. Social media enhances salience by facilitating instant dissemination, selective framing, and the swift emergence of collective concerns. Corporate reactions to these flashpoints differ. Some companies seek immediate clarification, others reinforce their positions or implement minor modifications, while a select few engage in public relations efforts that portray the issue as a misunderstanding. The caliber of that reaction, its velocity, tone, and transparency frequently dictates whether the incident dissipates swiftly or evolves into a sustained reputational issue. The concluding episode pertains to the UK government's National School Breakfast Programme and a social media initiative initiated by the Department for Education to endorse it. The initiative, initially launched by a Conservative government and later maintained and relaunched by the present administration, aims to offer complimentary nutritious breakfasts in schools located in underprivileged regions. The purpose is to provide children with the best start in life by ensuring they commence the school day with a nutritious meal, an intervention correlated with enhanced attentiveness, attendance, and educational outcomes according to research. The initiative primarily targets families facing financial difficulties or parents needing early morning childcare due to work commitments. It also seeks to alleviate holiday hunger and enhance early educational involvement. A major issue in public discourse revolved around the financial framework of the initiative. The government allocates money of around 60 cents per child for each meal. In contrast, surveys from participating schools reveal that the actual expense of providing breakfast when factoring in food staffing, heating, and supervision approximates $3 per child. In light of this difference, over 75% of participating schools said that the program was not financially sustainable without additional funding or local subsidies. The financing imbalance has faced criticism from local authorities and school leaders who argue that inadequately supported universal programs can burden school budgets and redirect resources from other services. Critics contend that insufficient funding necessitates schools to redistribute staff time or depend on philanthropic contributions and food banks to address deficits, rendering the program unsustainable without further public investment or specific financial assistance. The Department for Education's promotional social media film aimed to highlight the tangible advantages of local breakfast clubs. The brief movie presented a rhetorical inquiry: what would you do with an additional 30 minutes in your day? It showcased several parents responding by detailing activities made possible by their children participating in a complimentary breakfast club. The parents' responses featured in the government's promotional video included: take a brief 5-minute nap, visit the coffee shop with fellow mothers, engage in personal activities, household chores, and organize the rooms. These remarks aimed to humanize the program, illustrate how it liberated parents' time for constructive endeavors, and highlight the psychosocial alongside the nutritional advantages of organized morning provisions. Those responses became the centerpiece of criticism. Critics contended that the chosen instances distorted the program's fundamental objective, portraying it as a convenience for parents rather than a focused initiative to mitigate child hunger and assist families in actual need. The remark on the coffee shop elicited mockery and ire since it implied that a taxpayer-funded safety net was being utilized to support non-essential social endeavors, a notion that appeared at odds with the professed objective of aiding distressed families. Critics said that such marketing could alienate people who favor targeted welfare initiatives and are concerned about the effective allocation of public monies, suggesting that the government accidentally portrayed the program in a manner that compromised its moral justification. The conversation highlighted profound ideological rifts over the role of the state and the boundaries of parental responsibility. Certain observers contended that nourishing young infants is an essential parental obligation, and that governmental assistance should be allocated exclusively to those unable to fulfill this responsibility due to unemployment, illness, or insufficient cash. From this perspective, universal provision may generate inefficiencies and diminish personal accountability. Conversely, advocates of universal or widely accessible programs contended that child well-being should be the foremost criterion for success. They posited that a hungry child's capacity to learn supersedes worries regarding the expectations placed on individual parents to provide breakfast. Proponents highlighted the administrative and social benefits of universal programs. Expansive eligibility diminishes stigma, circumvents intricate and exclusionary means, testing and guarantees that children in marginal or temporarily precarious circumstances are not overlooked. The advertising error consequently had political ramifications that extended beyond the specific issue of messaging. By emphasizing instances that may suggest parental leisure instead of necessity, the Department for Education unintentionally provided justification for those advocating for prioritized targeted support and expressing concerns regarding the misallocation of taxpayer resources. This episode provides a practical lesson in communication strategy for public entities when advocating for social programs addressing sensitive issues like poverty and welfare. The meticulous selection of illustrative examples and a clear articulation of policy intent are essential to prevent misinterpretation. Public entities must reconcile authenticity, demonstrating genuine users articulating the impact of a service on their lives, with editorial supervision that preempts and mitigates potentially misinterpreted soundbites. A number of themes have been observed to emerge repeatedly in the context of these varied events, including the Jenner party and the controversy surrounding deleted photographs, the legal and practical constraints on the reproduction of event imagery, the technical risks associated with the management of personal devices by third parties, the dispute over product labeling at Tesco, and the promotional video that was produced by the Department for Education that is now being contested. Due to the digital revolution, it has become increasingly challenging to control and maintain confidentiality. It is impossible to withdraw anything after it has been made public. Photographs and other types of content may spread quickly over the internet. The distribution is accelerated by means of technologies that are designed for sharing, automatic archiving, and the smallest cost of redistribution. In the second place, the legal, technological, and communication frameworks that govern public life are complicated and often misunderstood by the general public. This level of complexity has the potential to cause misunderstandings and exacerbate conflicts. Opportunities for contradictory narratives arise as a result of the complicated nature of the breadth of copyright, the constraints on fair dealing, the subtleties of forensic device examination, and the strategic decisions that must be made in relation to corporate labeling. The combination of corporate decision-making, customer expectations, and social identity leads to the transformation of routine business decisions into cultural flashpoints. The indications of nomenclature, packaging, and advertising tone are understood within the context of broader cultural discourses, which operate as a mechanism for changing a branding decision that is potentially inwardly motivated into a statement of value that is viewed externally. Fourth, the instances that have been described here demonstrate the imperative for public figures, corporations, and government agencies to maintain transparency and engage in careful deliberation when communicating with the public. When a situation is subjected to rigorous scrutiny, actions that are ambiguous or inadequately articulated are more likely to be misunderstood, which could ultimately jeopardize the intentions that were previously stated. Clarity that is proactive, which is based on a grasp of the expectations of the audience and the potential for misinterpretation, is a crucial barrier that may be put up to prevent misunderstandings. This synthesis leads to the acquisition of hands-on experience. In order to reduce any confusion, explicit written agreements concerning photography and publication rights should be established by prominent personalities and event organizers. Furthermore, providing admission forms or wristbands that indicate the preferences of media members in regard to photography and posting their locations on plain signs that indicates whether or not photography is permitted helps to manage expectations. To reduce the likelihood of needless infringement litigation, and at the same time enable important remarks, independent creators and media organizations should reach out to legal teams and rely on low-risk descriptive coverage as opposed to unlawful duplication. The implementation of basic hygiene practices and the maintenance of awareness of institutional safeguards when devices are used by other people are necessary steps to reduce the majority of frequent dangers for individuals who are worried about the security of their gadgets. Retailers ought to offer well-founded explanations for their labeling procedures and supply chain restrictions, in order to reduce the likelihood of being accused of ideological bias. It is also necessary for government agencies to conduct comprehensive assessments of campaign materials, including editorial content and stakeholder involvement, prior to the distribution of said materials in order to minimize the chance of ineffective communication. The episodes that took place around the end of 2023 and that are analyzed in this report serve as contemporary examples of the interactions that occur between reputation policy and technology in the public domain. They provide an example of the need of coordinating activities with communications, understanding the legal limitations that apply to media usage, following the basic principles of digital security, and recognizing the symbolic power of popular commercial and bureaucratic terms. In each instance, the disputes that were brought about by these situations were not just concerned with the particular details of the situation. Instead, they were more broadly concerned with the varying expectations that people had regarding propriety, privacy, economic responsibility, and social solidarity. The episodes emphasize the fact that in an era that is defined by the rapid distribution of information and the fragmentation of media attention, the management of narrative through the use of explicit agreements, judicious disclosure, stringent technical protocols, and carefully constructed messaging is one of the most important duties that public figures of all kinds must fulfill. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for the time being.